Om Swami Saraswati Namaha.
Question from Ambika.
Namaste Ambika, Namaste Sham.
Namaste Swamiji. Would you please talk more about the significance of setting the monkey's tail on fire and how this applies to our life? Thank you.
Aren't we all a bunch of monkeys jumping around with our tails set on fire? Just look at the way we're responding to the circumstances of our lives. So they thought they would cause Hanuman pain and they would punish him for being an uninvited guest into the kingdom of ego. And he even had the nerve to go and see Sita, and he talked with her. And then on top of that, he came to Ravan's court and he insulted her, the king of the ego. And then the king of the ego said, I'm going to kill that. And Vibhishan, who is discrimination, said, hey, this is not the way to behave with an ambassador. Now, the enemy sends you an ambassador. Of course, he's going to speak what's pleasing to his master. He's not going to speak what's pleasing to you. So you're not allowed to kill the ambassador when he comes with a truce flag to negotiate a peace. You can't kill him. But you can maim him, you can break his bones and send him back, you can light his tail on fire, you can do all kinds of deleterious things to him, but you can't kill him. Ravan said, well, hey, won't our children have a fun time watching this monkey dancing in the streets with his tail lit on fire? Wouldn't that be an appropriate way to answer the challenge of consciousness? And so the monkey with his tail on fire represents, what does the ego do every time he lashes out at someone who doesn't speak pleasing words to him? He tries to set their tail on fire and make fun of them and injure them and put them into all sorts of difficulties and pain. Of course, he didn't know that was Shiva's tail. And then, so the monkey was able to escape. He broke free from his chains. He took the fire and set fire to every house in Lanka except for Vibhishan's house. So he didn't burn down the house of discrimination, but he burned down the houses of the ego and all of the generals in the army of the ego.
A question from Ambika. Again.
Namaste.
I have recently met some people whose guru teaches them that doing sadhana is not necessary. That it is only important to live a good, conscious, caring life and remember God in your actions. Would you please comment on this philosophy? Thank you.
I have heard this philosophy many times from many sources. And actually, what did the rishis do? What did the gods do? Even after they became gods, they did sadhana. And every time they'd stop doing sadhana, they forgot about God. And they forgot that they were divine. So we don't just do sadhana to get something, but how do you live a just, moral, beautiful, harmonious life remembering God all the time if you don't do sadhana? I believe that's an impossibility. Sadhana is the means by which we remember God in what we're doing. You can't remember God if you're not thinking about her. So in order to think about her, we have to study her scriptures, we have to join in satsang, we chant, we do puja, we do pat, we do homa, we sing and dance. And this is the way to remember God. So it's a faulty premise that you don't have to do sadhana. Life is sadhana. Life is a sadhana. Everything you do in life is part of the puja. Now, how do you remember that if you don't do sadhana? Well, I'm going to go out and be a bogey and enjoy the world and TGIF, thank God it's Friday, let's pop a cold one and put our feet up and watch the boob tube. Now, how am I going to remember God when I'm doing that? It's a little tough. So sadhana is the process by which we remember God. And if you want to remember God in everything you do, then remember Him specially and sometimes during the day. And that's called sadhana.
Question from Nanda in San Jose.
Namaste, Nandama.
Why is this text called the Sundar, or beautiful Kand?
Nanda, again and again, it's the most beautiful thing. Pure devotion remembers his true nature. And he remembers he is Hanuman, he is pure devotion. He has the capacity to jump across the ocean of worldliness. He can discover the true nature of consciousness. He can bring that news back to Ram. He is the ambassador of consciousness. He knows his own self, and that's why it's beautiful. He inspires all of us to know our own selves. He tells us, like it is, you can know yourselves. You can also jump across the ocean of worldliness and conquer the ego. Find your true nature and be one with God. Remember God in every action and do sadhana. And keep it bright and keep it light. And that's why it's Sundar.
I have a question.
Please.
This is about Vibhushan.
Yes.
He is one of my role models. I've watched the Ramayana several times, and the way I interpret it is he left his own family, his own blood relatives, for the truth. He left Ravana, his own blood brother, to side with truth, to side on the side of righteousness. And to me, the way I've applied that in my life, I was just wondering if this is the correct application, is that it is okay for us to leave relationships, even if they're close to us, if that relationship is not grounded in truth, or if your partner or the person you're with is not dharmic. Is that a correct interpretation? Is that okay?
Well, actually, that's not quite what happened. I mean, it's an interesting interpretation of an application of what happened, but that's not quite what happened in the story. Ravan kicked Vibhishan out. He said, I don't need any discrimination. I am the ego, I'm all powerful, and I will do what I want. And everyone will listen to me. I don't want you telling me what I should be doing or what's in for my own benefit. So Vibhishan did not leave Ravan. Ravan left Vibhishan.
You know, in the movie, it was the opposite. In the movie.
I don't know which movie you're watching.
I'll go back.
Thinking too long.
Yeah.
Ravan kicked out Vibhishan.
Oh, I thought he.
But insofar as leaving your own near and dear, you know, we all know what commitments we have made. And if we have made commitments, we want to honor those commitments, because if I can't trust me, how can I trust anyone else? If I know that I made a commitment and then I don't want to honor that commitment, then how am I going to trust that you're going to want to honor your commitments? Impossible. So, if we made a commitment, we have the right, the privilege, the duty to take some time away from those relationships and side with the armies of truth. But we also have a commitment to come back to those relationships and say, hey, I'm siding with the armies of truth and I'm having a blast. Why are you here suffering the impositions of the ego when you could come and share some more truth? This is how we do it. This is how we sit. This is how we breathe. This is how we chant. This is how we make puja. This is how we make homa. This is what it means. This is how you can change your life as I am changing my life. If we have that kind of commitment, if we have that kind of faith, if we have that kind of patience, Shraddha and Shabra. We need faith and we need patience, and we will continue to fulfill our obligations and our commitments while we side with the armies of truth, while we do our sadhana. So I don't agree that you just walk away and say, well, I think I'm going to side with this army now, so see you later.
But in some situations, let's say you're married to a murderer.
Yes.
And he keeps murdering people. And you're like hanging out with him, right?
Even worse, Brahmahatya.
Then it's okay, right?
Probably not. Even
This is bad discrimination, but discrimination doesn't leave you, it's just your perception, either it's good or it's bad, by somebody else's judgment.
Well, that's true as well. But say if I were married to a murderer, I would want to question my sanity for getting married in the first place. Why would I choose that kind of a guy?
I'm just exaggerating.
You sure are. You're not insinuating. No, exaggerating, not insinuating. No, actually, I probably would gravitate to a relationship which would bring me closer to God and closer to the fulfillment of all of my aspirations in Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. That's why I would get married. I wouldn't think to get married to Joe the plumber, because he can fix the sink. I've had a drippy sink for years. I learned to live with it. So I would choose different criteria by which to select a partner who can get me to my goal. I want partners who are going to get me to my goal. I don't want partners who are going to say, okay, sit back here with me while I spend the rest of my life in jail. That wouldn't be a wise choice. So in the first place, we want to say, hey, well, why do I want a relationship? No, I don't just want to get married because I'm supposed to. I want to get in a relationship with those who are going the same way I'm going, so we can go together and support each other and inspire each other and nourish each other and make it bigger and bigger and better and better. Those are the kinds of partners I would seek. I would seek people who can complement me in my pursuit. Now, if I made a stupid mistake some years ago and I just woke up now, and here's that Swami character sitting on a mountain saying, if you got the wrong partner, I would say, sit down with your partner and negotiate a new goal. Sit down together and say, hey, now we've endured each other all these years. Where do we want to go from here? What is our purpose? Where are we going? Can we go to the temple? Can we go to God? Can we go even farther and better and more pure and more clear? Or do you just want to hang out here and pop a cold one every Friday night? I don't know. But these are subjects for discussion that we could actually sit down and talk to each other. We do have some things to say to each other. If we're partners, we better start talking, because that's what makes the partnership, is the communication. And when we're communicating effectively, then there's a unity, and there's a harmony, and there's a blissful state, and we start producing effective action in order to maintain the bliss of that blissful state. And that makes a good partnership. So you can start today from where you are. There's no need to say, well, I'm going to leave all that were dear to me some years ago because it become boring to me. And now I would like to find something more exciting. I mean, it's possible that we just build the bridge and say, hey, I would like to spend 2-3 hours a day chanting the Sundarkand. And you go to the 19th hole and get watered down. Or wherever you want to go. Or you come with me and I'll go with you. And we'll see whose enjoyment is more pleasurable. There are many ways that we can negotiate. There are many ways that we can build bridges to each other. And that's Dharma. That's the ideal of perfection. Inviting people into our harmony. Especially our families.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not married.
I have a question. I'm curious about the relationship with the 6 classical schools of philosophy and how they relate to each other.
Each school is a full and complete system of philosophy within itself. And taken together, they comprise stepping stones. So if we begin with Charvak, which says everything I know is everything in my mind was once in my senses. Pretty easy principle. It says that, well, I know my senses most intimately. And if it's in my mind, it must have come, I must have seen it or smelled it or tasted it or heard it or in some way it came in. So everything that's in my mind was once in my senses, and all my senses know is the material world. So the only proof of existence I have is the material world. And then Nyaya comes along. And Nyaya says, wait a minute, you make inferences between various things that you've seen in the world. And you create all kinds of relationships. And you have this system of logic. And you make deductions and inductions. And you have many kinds of proof. Not just sensory perception. The senses are one. But you have a deductive logic where you have a syllogism, a thesis, an antithesis, and a synthesis. You have inductive logic, where you have a universal principle and you apply it to many particulars. Or you see many particulars and you induce a universal principle. Like where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's smoke on the hill. Therefore, there must be fire on the hill. Or you could say, Pushpa is a human being, and Rook is a human being, and Shankar is a human being, and I don't know about you guys. So humanity, anybody who stands up on 2 legs with 2 arms and has a brain, might be human. These are universal principles. And then you have testimony. The scriptures say it's true. The gods say it's true. The rishis said it's true. My guru told me. My parents accepted it. Everybody is in agreement. So we have various forms of proof in Nyaya. That's the system of logic. And from Nyaya we go to Vaisheshika. We say, hey, all that we can understand are atoms that are tumbling in this vortex of space, and like atoms are uniting with like atoms, and opposites are repelling each other, and now there are protons, neutrons, electrons, quarks, and bosons. So they're all uniting in this vortex of space, and here we have everything is explained as natural phenomena. Well, Shankya says, wait a minute, natural phenomena enough is not sufficient to explain this existence. You've got, in addition to Prakriti, you need a Purush. In addition to a material cause, you need an instrumental cause. You need consciousness. So now we have the distinction between Purush and Prakriti, between nature and spirit, between soul and all of the material cause. Yoga is the next step. It comes along and says, hey, the purpose of life is to unite the two and to bridge all the differences, to unite your Purush with your Prakriti, to create a harmony and a bond so that your mind and your heart are working in harmony. They're working together. You really believe what you're saying, what you're doing. You're speaking from your heart. You speak with conviction. And in order to do that, they proclaim the next step of philosophy, which is called Purva Mimamsha. And Purva Mimamsha is Tantra. It's Bhakti. Let's do puja. Let's read the scriptures. Let's do homa. We'll sing, we'll dance, we'll explain what we're doing, and we'll offer our love to God. And we have the 7 steps of Karma Yoga. And ultimately, by prosecuting that path, we reach to Vedanta, Uttarmimamsha. So now we have 7 steps: Charva, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Shankya, Yoga, Purvamimamsha, and Uttarmimamsha. Vedanta is a realization there's nothing to do in Vedanta. Brahma, 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 Brahma. 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 There is no second. Dvitiyam na mamapara. There is no duality. Brahma, 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 Brahma. There is no speaker, there is no listener, there is nothing to be said. And those are the 7 steps of philosophy. When you take each system in its, as it stands alone, it's a full and complete system within itself. When you put all 7 of them together, you move from the earth to the divine. Bhur, Bhuva, Shva, Maha, Jana, Tapa, Satyam. They take you through the 7 levels of consciousness. All 7 schools of philosophy.
Question from Nanda in San Jose.
Namaste, Nandama.
As your students, do we look at the Ramayana as a story of devotion, or do we look to learn something from each of the characters in the story? What exactly is the relevance to us of a story set many hundreds of years ago and may or may not have really happened? Thank you.
Nandama, every character in this story is in this being, and in this one and that one and that. And everyone in the story is the archetype, the perfect leader of light, the perfect brother, the perfect servant, the perfect devotee, even the perfect demon, the perfect wife, the perfect lover, the perfect guru. Everyone was perfect. And if we study this story, we can see how all of these characters are inside ourselves, and how can we change our comportment so that we exemplify perfection as well. How can we move closer to that perfection? And that's why we studied the scriptures. What did they do to become like that? And what could I do in my time and my place several thousand years later? How could I change myself so I could be more like that? And I think that's the reason we study it. That's the reason we wake up and say, hey, Mr. Devotion within me, jump across the ocean of ego. Hey, Mr. Consciousness within me, slay the ego and set free the pure nature of consciousness. Hey, Mr. Brother, perfect brother, be a brother to me. Let me be a brother to my brothers. Let me be a sister to my sisters. Let me be the perfect in every relationship that I assume. So that's the objective, as I understand.
Question from Kumari in Vallejo.
Namaste, Kumari Ma.
How can I practice the teachings of the Sundarakand in my practical life?
Whatever you do it as the servant of God. Whatever you receive, do it as the devotee of God. Whatever you proclaim, do it as the consciousness of God. Be yourself, you're the sister to God. Be yourself the wife to God. Be yourself the devotee of God. Be yourself. Every role that you play one of the characters of the Sundarakand. And see how your life unfolds. When you talk to your boss, you talk with the sweetness and the respect that is due to the boss. And when you talk to those who work for you, talk with the love and the gentility and the generosity of the parent to the child. And you see how your life unfolds. See how, and when you serve your guru, serve her with the devotion of a Hanuman, jumping across the ocean. I will never rest until my guru's work is complete. And I know that's one of your characteristics. I know you exemplify that one at all times, because I get emails from you at 2 and 3 in the morning as well. That's how you can inculcate the characteristics, the attitudes of the Sundarakand. Become the best that you can become. That's the goal.
Question from Colleen Ananda in Barbados.
Namaste, Kalima. Namaste, Wayne.
From various news reports far around the globe, there appears a dramatic increase in the monkey population, and they are no longer avoiding humans. The monkey is symbolic of a human mind jumping here and there and everywhere. Does this increase in population relate to the thoughts in the world of disarray?
Whoa! Do you know the first thing I said in my introduction, Kalima, was mind is like a monkey. And if you want, you can watch it jump from limb to limb and swing around. Or if you want, you can harness that monkey mind and make him the emblem of pure devotion. So now, these are the choices that we have. Do we want to count monkeys that are swinging around in the trees? Or do we want to harness our own monkey and make him the pure devotee of God? As to whether the increase in the monkey population is affecting the thoughts of humanity, I see that in some countries there is a decrease going on, especially in gorilla population and orangutans, that they're having difficulty maintaining the species, especially in Congo and Mali and that's enough for me. But there are many areas where the other populations are decreasing. So I hope that the sadhus are controlling their thoughts even greater and greater. Namaste.
Question from Nanda in San Jose again.
Namadama.
Does one identify their Ishta Devata very early in their lives? What if falling in love with the deity has not happened? How then to identify an Ishta Devata?
Fall in love with the Guru and follow the Guru to the Ishta. Make your Guru your Ishta and then worship the way she worships. And then you'll find your Ishta just by starting the worship. Be careful though if you find somebody like me who's just worshiping everywhere. He's got this cosmic puja. He's got Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Durga, Kali, Saraswati, Lakshmi, Ganesh, Ramakrishna. Everybody. Nobody is left out of our puja. That's what happens when you can't make up your mind. Be careful. So if you don't have an Ishta yourself, follow your Guru. Your Guru will lead you in a puja and you'll find your Ishta.
Question from Praveen.
Okay, Praveen, namaste.
One thing always intrigues me is why Rama has to kill Bali behind the bushes being a Purushottama and God himself. Can you please shed some light on this, Swamiji?
Ram would do anything for his friend to save Vivek. Sugriv is the excellent friend. And he wanted to save his excellent friend, and he was destined. Bali had won the boon that he would not be killed by anyone on earth. And so he became very egotistical, and he even kicked Sugriv, the excellent friend, out of the kingdom, his brother. And then he took over Tara, who was Sugriv's wife, as his own wife. And then he became very egotistical and a sinner, and it was Ram's duty to punish the sinner. So as Ram was in the form of a man, he could not slay Bali in the open. He had to slay him in private, in secrecy. So that's why he did it. He said, even if I have to undergo clunk, a stain, if I'm blemished or if I get a bad name for doing this action, I have upheld the friendship and I have punished the sinner. So that was his reason. Om Swami Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Thank you everybody for joining us.